afternoon, Year 11. Hope you're all ready for your exam tomorrow. This is just a very quick recap on the things you should have been doing over the last few weeks, and just a reminder of a few things that you might find useful for tomorrow. So on the slide in front of you now, you'll just see the basics that you need to have been looking at in order to do really well in your exam tomorrow. Take a look at them. If there are any key terms you're unsure of, take some time to look through your knowledge organiser, which you'll find on Arbor, and check any key terms or words that you're not sure of. Your exam is an hour and 45 minutes in length unless you have extra time, and there are 6 sections to answer. Please make sure you answer all of the questions and follow the instructions that you'll find on the first page of your exam. The first section is multiple choice and is worth 4 marks. You'll have the words that you can use at the top of the page with 1 red herring. Please have a go even if you're not sure on the answers to these questions. The next section of the exam will relate to a small passage. Make sure you read the passage and even underline or highlight any key terms as you read. If the question asks you to refer to the passage in your answer, then please do so. Make sure you, as always, make note of the number of marks the question is worth. If it is only worth 1 mark, you just need to make a short point. If it is worth 2 marks, you need to make a point and then develop your answer. If a question asks you for a definition, so on the left here you can see the question says explain what is meant by values, you need to give an example as well as the definition. So if a value is something we consider to be important, we might write in our answer, values are something we consider to be important. This might be being polite in society. The next question asks you for 2 reasons why something happens. Make sure you do give the prescribed 2 reasons, and again give examples to support your points. There will be 2 8-mark questions in this exam, and they will start with words such as explain why. You need to make sure that you do focus on explaining. So why does something happen? You can see some sentence starters which you could use for these types of questions. So you could write 1 reason why, this means, and this has led to. They are 3 very straightforward ways that you could start each of your paragraphs. You'll notice that the question says explore at least 2 reasons. That means you must write 2 separate paragraphs. Make sure your point is clear. Provide evidence and an explanation to support your point, and then do that twice. If you can include sociological studies or perspectives, then that's great, but you do not have to do so. It is important that you write something for each question. Your ideas are valid and can get you some marks. So even if you're not confident in mentioning a particular sociologist, that is fine. Give 2 reasons. There are also going to be 2 15-mark questions on your paper, and this is where you need to really think about the structure in your answer. It would be a good idea to spend a minute or so planning out an answer to the question based on the exact wording from it. It will also ask you whether you agree with this view. I recommend in your introduction that you establish different viewpoints. So some people think this, other people think this. You then have to say whether you agree with one view or the other. So make a judgment in your introduction. What I would like everybody to do is to make sure that they provide 2 different lines of argument in 2 separate paragraphs. You make 1 point to answer the question, you give evidence to support it, and you reach a judgment. You do that twice. If you are trying to get higher grades, which I know most of you are, you need to then try and challenge each line of argument that you provide. So for example here, if we think that families could be considered to have negative effects on the family, on their members, you need to provide examples of how families could be negative. So for example, a family may experience domestic violence. You then need to challenge that or criticise it and say, however, this wouldn't happen in the vast majority of families. Also on a 15-mark question, you can see that it says you are advised to consider different sociological ideas and theories. This is where you need to bring in, if you can, sociologists' names or particular perspectives such as Marxism, feminism, and functionalism. The key thing here, though, is that you give at least 2 different lines of argument and you reach a judgment. So once you've completed the section on family and the section on education, you then have a short section at the end on research methods. The paper finishes with a 12-mark question where you have to discuss the strengths and weaknesses of a particular research method. Please again make sure you follow the instructions on the paper that you need to look at 2 strengths and 2 weaknesses. Now these could be relating to how much a research method might cost, how much time it takes to carry out, how valid the data is, so do you think you can trust the material, whether a research method is easy to do on a large number of people or whether it would only be a small number of people. So some key words you might want to include here are valid, in that it is accurate, representative, in that it gives us a snapshot of the wider population at large, or reliable, in that if we were to carry out the research again, it would give us the same material. But again, make sure you follow those instructions, that you give 2 strengths, 2 weaknesses, and reach an overall judgment. Do you think there are more strengths or more weaknesses to this particular research method? Also, remember some research methods have different types. So for example, if the question was about observation, remember you could talk about overt observation, where the subjects know they're being observed, or covert observation, where the subjects do not know they're being observed. You could also talk about participant observation, when the researcher gets involved with the group, or non-participant observation, when the researcher does not get involved. So for example, if someone was to come into a classroom and stand at the back with a clipboard researching what was happening, that would be overt non-participant observation. Whereas if somebody was studying football hooliganism and they decided to pretend to be a football hooligan and attend the game with other people, that would be covert participant observation. The next few slides are just a recap of what we've done in class over the last couple of weeks and homeworks. If you haven't finished these mind maps or flashcards, etc., then please do so now. Also look over those if you have finished them. All of these are going to help you with your mock exam. Wish you the best of luck. Please use all the time that's available. Answer every question, because you can definitely pick up a few marks just by putting your point of view.